I think that this camp specifically, there's a really good vibe to it, and everyone seems to be having a great time. There's a lot of chatter. There's a lot of smiles. The positivity is kind of oozing out of everybody, not just Mike Brown, but all of the players. And I think a lot of that is because Mike Brown's positivity is just like it's infectious. And
He's
so,
smiling through that whole clip that you just posted.
yeah. And, I thought he might enjoy that question because he is a guy who likes to teach, who wants to be, some people don't love that aspect. They like to come in, they like to like these are my X's and O's. You need to follow my X's and O's, but but you should already know the game of basketball by the time you got to me.
Right.
And I don't think that Mike Brown is that guy. Mike Brown understands that a lot of this is teaching. And, I think that's why him and Doug Christie will probably get along so incredibly well because that's how Doug looks at the game, too. It's about teaching the finer nuances of the game, about really breaking down everything to its minutia. And that takes time. It takes time and energy to do. And Mike is definitely a guy who has a passion for it.
Do you think, because we see Mike Brown, smiling and having a good time? Do you think there's two Mike Browns? There's the after practice Mike Brown and the during practice Mike Brown that is not as, I mean, he's not like he's, two faced or nothing like that, but he's intense. Like he's a perfectionist. He's trying to get these guys and instill a culture and a way to play. And is that a little different than what we see once practice is over and the cameras are on and things of that nature?
Oh, totally. I think every coach is way different, way different, and there's probably like three or four of them. So they have their personality that they have with their family. They have their personality when they're like an intense moment at practice. They have their personality when it's with the media and it's sort of jovial, or they've got to lay down the law, or they've got to speak to their players through the media. It just depends on how the coach approaches these things. But then I also think that there's another coach that's hiding inside them, that when a player has issues or when a player needs to be like put on the right path, or told very specific things about what their playing time is going to look like this season, or for the next 2 weeks, like that's a different side too. And I think Mike is one of those guys that he has an ability to connect on like a bunch of different levels. And so I like what I see so far. It's definitely, he's a good guy to talk to. He gives good sound bites. We have the scream and the laughter, and there's always something about him. On occasion, he gets locked into this other mode where he's really just kind of like going, like trying to explain something to you, and that's where I think a lot of times you can see the teacher side of him. And so yeah, it's interesting. It's every new head coach is different. This is my, what do we figure out, ninth or 10th head coach in the 13 years that I've covered the team. You got to get to know them. You got to figure things out, how they like to run a practice, or how they like their pregame stuff, questions that they do like or they don't like. There's a lot of things you need to learn about coaches, and it's kind of like, in a weird way, having a new boss every time. You got to figure them out and kind of figure out the how to work, within their system, but also show them who you are and your personality. Earn their respect as they're earning your respect. It's pretty complicated.
Have you gotten a feel for how the players are responding to him?
Yeah, they love him. They do. For everything that I can tell early on, they're very much into his vibe. And even day one, we saw them run so many sprints because they kept missing free throws. But I mean, it was a lot. I mean, I don't know how many times they were up and back, but probably at least 10, maybe more. And that was because one player after another stepped to the free throw line and missed a free throw. And they were trying to, prove a point, but get the guys in shape. And yeah, but I think still, like at the end, Mike said, hey, if, Alex Len hits two free throws in a row, then the coaches will run. And, if you've played sports, that's always the fun thing, is to watch the coaches have to do the same thing you've done. And I remember watching Alex Lynn hit both, and the first one did not want to go in. It like bounced all over the place and finally fell in. The second one was clean, and the coaches took off running and did the sprints, and then Mike Brown flew past the line and jumped against the cushioned wall and smashed into the wall. And he's just a fun-loving guy. There's
Stopping gets harder as you get older.
yeah. Oh yeah, that's what I said that on the pod last night. Yeah, there's a big difference between like stopping at that baseline when you're 22 years old and an NBA player, or 19 years old or 15 years old running wind sprints, than it is when you're his age or my age, and like
When you're
that
40,
line.
it's a business decision.
Yeah, that line, it's really big at that point. It gets really big and really blurry, and you're just hoping that there's something you can run into and you don't fall somewhere.
I say all the time, man. Yeah, if I got 5 gears to me, like a car, I never get out of third gear. Never. I never go past third gear. Ever. That can't happen anymore. And if I get a little older, I may not get past second gear. I'm not pushing it to the limit like that.
Yeah.
No, sir.
I bet DC out there pushing it though. I bet
DC, he can get to fourth. He might be able to get to fifth gear.
Yeah, Leandro Barbosa is there too, and he's in great shape. Leandro Barbosa can still play. That's what we hear, that he's still like very good and very good in 1-on-1 or 3-on-3 games after practice. I'll say this: Bobby Jackson, Bobby's looking svelte. And I actually watched, he was jumping in and actually doing the running drills about halfway through. You could tell he's like, I should probably get my cardio in right now. So yeah, good for Bobby Jackson, and seeing Bob and Doug hang out. Bobby and Doug hang out together on the sidelines is pretty cool still.
Yeah.
A lot of these guys have been, but we've got Kings tickets to give away. Let's give those away right now. Kings will be at the Golden One Center, gearing up for regular season action. They'll take on Los Angeles in the final preseason game. We've got you right now. Caller number 3, 916-909-1320. Again, that's 916-909-1320. We've got you all week. We're going to send you to that final preseason game to take on Los Angeles. And then next week, we're going to send you to the home opener. You can go to kings.com/tickets if you want to purchase some right now, or you could just hang out with us. We've got you covered the rest of this week and next week. Some of these guys have been playing a lot. Like, is this group fresh? Like, a lot of them are coming from their international teams and different things like that. Is this group overall, are they pretty fresh?
They look like they're ready. That's what, like, I mean, they still have to go through a lot of X's and O's and figuring out, who's going to play where and all that stuff and rotations. But for the most part, I mean, I don't think there's a player there that you can say is really look like they're out of shape. I know someone mentioned in Shouty House that Bazemore was dying. That Bazemore was kind of like the end. But look, Bazemore also has he's got 2 kids under the age of 3. Like the dude's got a busy life going on, and he's also a seasoned vet that knows what to do once the ball goes up in the air. And I'll say this too, for all the talk about Harrison Barnes and just where is he at mentally, Harrison Barnes won every single one of the wind sprints.
That's what I talked about earlier. Yeah.
He was way out in front of everybody, and so that's where people need to know that it doesn't matter what's going on, that once a ball is once it's game night, Harrison Barnes is ready to play. He's focused. He's already focused and ready to play.
Well, that's what we kind of, me and Damian were kind of talking about earlier, and I noticed the same thing. And I said that Harrison Barnes, the way he approaches the game, the type of player he is, it almost doesn't matter if he's bought in or not, because his mind won't let him do anything other than his best or to play a certain type of way. And then I noticed the same thing, James. I mean, I noticed it not because I was looking to pick on anybody, but I always look at, point guards are in the front. That's what I was always taught. Point guards in the front. You lead from the front, you're the point guard. And Harrison was beating the point guards. He was the one first every time on those things. So I just think that's just who he is. He can't not give his all or be bought into the point where he's at least gonna try his best to produce.
Yeah, we talked to everybody. We talked to, let's see, Kevin Herter and who was the other yesterday? One of the two guys that we spoke to yesterday was very clear. Harrison Barnes is the guy who's always at the gym. He's always in the gym early. And the other cool thing about Harrison, I've said this before, but I'll repeat it again. He's a guy who not only is his body a temple and does he take care of it like 100%, but he also imparts that knowledge on the players that are coming behind him. It's something that his veterans taught him when he was young, and he's going to keep showing it to the guys that are coming through. You gotta hit the ice bath. You gotta do all of your maintenance on your body in order to stay strong and be in great shape. And I mean, he looks like he's in tremendous shape coming into camp. The only thing with him, it's like, is he 100% like? I don't even want to say bought in, but like, is his head here? Is this where he's going to be long term, and what does that mean for the rest of his life and all that stuff? Like, because when you get traded or you sign a lucrative deal somewhere else in the off season, that means you're moving. That means you're moving, your wife's moving, your little girl's moving, like everyone's moving, and that's a big deal. It's as you get older as a player, I think it even becomes more and more difficult because you become entrenched in a community, and all that stuff. You have your friends and your play dates for your kids and all that stuff, and it's a big change.
Well, it's hard not to think that it's got to be on his mind a little bit, doesn't it? I mean, we talk about next season. It could be February. It could be tomorrow.
It could be tomorrow. It could be between now and that magical date that I won't say because you hate when I say it. It could be any time, and I think that's what like players kind of understand, that like your name gets mentioned, and it gets mentioned for a reason. And I thought that was one of the most interesting things. Brennan asked a question of Mike Brown about like roles and stuff, and Mike Brown said that they had already had like meetings with every single player and gone through like very specific expectations and roles, and this is what we want you to work on, this is who we want you to be. And I don't think that that's like a complete rarity, but I also think that like having like an honest discussion with your players is really important. And we see it with Phoenix, where DeAndre Ayton literally said he hadn't spoken to Monty Williams since the last game of the season, and that just seems like very strange to me. But I guess that happens in some situations. But once you matched his contract, you probably should have given him a call. And everyone handles their business differently, but that's a strange thing.
Wasn't DeAndre like benched in the second half, or the whole like that probably should have been addressed. Like the fact that it hasn't, it speaks to everything we said about Phoenix all off season. Like this is concerning for them. Like this. Mm-hmm. There's strong Kyler Murray vibes right now with the Phoenix Suns and DeAndre Ayton.
A lot of it's strange. Like why you wouldn't do that in an exit interview, why you wouldn't have kind of work it out, and so someone goes into the summer, whether he was going to come back or not, go into the summer with a positive like mental approach and thought about who you are as a coach and where his place is with the team. Just very strange.
James Ham, 1320 Kings Insider with us. We'll come back. We'll talk more about the first couple of days of practice. I want to talk to you about Rashawn Holmes. And we want to talk to you about Monty's contract answer to the question Deuce Mason asked him yesterday. So we've got all of that coming up. Much more Kings talk. I talk for a living, believe it or not. Like I can do this. I could put sentences together. CeeLo and KC with James Ham here on Sacramento Sports Leader, ESPN 1320. We got a couple of things to take care of. First, I nearly fell out when Tyler said Jameis Ham. I nearly fell out. I thought that was incredible. Let's also eliminate a couple of people here. Who is out? Dr. David is out. He had Ham freezing at 314. Filthy McNasty had 323. He's out. John C. had 313. He is out. Many of you are still alive, still standing, still strong.
Somebody came in here, and I don't know if this is legal or not, but they came in here with the 340, and it's already taken, bro.
Well, yeah. Russell did come in late with the 340.
It's already taken. Don't be taking. I said 340.
Okay. Well, all right. All right.
One of the reasons why it took so long for me to get on is, first of all, practice did run late, and I was hauling to get here. I didn't walk in the door until after 3 o'clock. I text you while driving, while I was in the lake, though, like right down the street, to say, "Hey, I'll be there in a minute." But then once I opened my computer, I tried to hardwire in, and it just was like, "Hey, we're not down for this."
Okay. Oh, wait a minute. Wait a minute. Oh, does that?
He's moving. He's moving.
Yeah, he's moving. Woo, that was close. That was
the referee. One.
Oh, Spectre. John Poles. That was close. Ooh.
That's awesome.
Man, that was close.
I just paused for a second.
Okay. He's moving. He's moving.
He's moving.
We have to check the review. Is somebody throwing a red flag out there?
No. Weezy says throw the red flag. I'm saying he didn't move. I mean, I'm saying he moved. I'm saying it wasn't enough.
Yeah. I'm gonna put my own bet in here, and then I'm just gonna mess with you guys. As soon as it's time, I'm just gonna be like,
so good.
Oh man!
Jesse says 5 seconds for an official freeze.
5 seconds.
I like that.
Oh, that's awesome.
Oh man.
Yeah, we actually need to get in studio because I could have just swung right by on the way home and been right on the air. And
well, James, there's rumors out there now.
There's rumors of a walkthrough on October 10th. I don't know what a walkthrough is. I don't exactly know what that means, but maybe we come in, we see where the cameras are set up, we test them out a little bit. October 10th is that's a Monday. So maybe the 11th is our first show.
All right.
I don't know.
All right. Well, I'll just tell you what I tell Avery every day when he says we're about to get let in. I don't believe you.
Oh man. Do you get to watch any of practice? Or you just watch the aftermath?
Well, I mean, it just depends on the coach. So far, no. We got to watch wind sprints, but we were told day one ran long because they had like an hour-long discussion. Upon further review, I don't think that was the case. I think that practice was scheduled to go till 1:55, and like us getting there at 11:30 was, it just happened. I don't think they were going to let us in for like a 45-minute window and let us watch. Mm-hmm. It would be nice if they did. I mean, certain coaches, like at the old practice facility, they had the screen. So it was one-way mirrors. We could see out. They couldn't see us. But they had a screen on the other side they could drop and raise. And sometimes a coach would raise the screen and let us watch, 10, 15 minutes of scrimmage.
Yeah.
But even that, like recording through the two-way mirrors, the one-way glass, it was always like really yellowed out and really difficult to do anything with the footage. Yeah.
All right.
Sorry, Tyler Jennings, you lost.
Tyler's out.
Damn. It's getting dicey for me too.
Oh boy, the chatty house is anxious here in the final 20 plus minutes of the program. We had an unofficial ham freeze. It was unofficial. And look, it's 3:33. We've got John Poles in here. John Poles is about to be out on the 3:33. Spectre 707 went with 3:33. He's on his way out. Ham's connection is teasing us a little bit, but no ham freeze yet. Is this the day the streak is broken?
The streak.
Is this the moment Brock Lesnar pins the Undertaker?
And I'm calling another foul because Thomas G is saying 340. I already have 340. You guys have to get off of 340. Find another time, Thomas.
And Wizzo, you can't say 345 to 350-ish. That's like when I say my win total, give or take 8 wins. Like that doesn't work. People
Uh,
always say that's not okay. It's like, yeah, 37 wins, give or take 8. They can avoid the drama. They could get to 45. They can't avoid the drama. They'll get to 29.
we play games here on D'Lo and KC live on youtube.com/ESPN1320. I don't know if Twitch is working or not, so I'm just leaving that one alone. What did you think of Monty and Deuce Mason and that interaction there about Monty's contract?
Yeah. Okay. So Monty was so laid back. It was the most laid back we've ever seen Monty. Even like in an off the record happy hour, he wasn't laid back like that. I just felt like for the first time, he was just comfortable in his own skin. And that question had to be asked. But media day is a really tough place to ask that question, especially just like we haven't been in scrums like this in so long.
Yeah.
So there's people jumping over each other. There's two people talking at once, and then like whoever stops first is the one who doesn't get to ask the question. So it becomes like chaotic. And I thought it was a good question by Deuce. I didn't know if it was going to be asked or not. I hadn't like put it on my list of things to ask. I had other questions I sort of wanted to hit him with. But yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, he's entering the final year of his contract. No, it's not on the internet, but you know, we definitely know that this is the final year of his contract, and like all bets are off. Like you let a guy walk into the final year of his contract, and heaven forbid if he goes out there and does something miraculous like breaks a playoff streak and has this thing moving the right way, and then someone else comes in and offers him 100, like offers him $1 million more for over or a 5-year deal or something that you weren't willing to offer him. Maybe he goes somewhere else, and so you're opening yourself up to everything, uh, just like a player. So
Yeah.
Monty's in a prove it year, and but he's also auditioning for all 30 teams, and
Mm-hmm.
that's probably it doesn't sound like it's that big of a deal, but I'll say this: like I think their chances are pretty good of actually being in the competition for the 10 seed at worst, and with the potential to go higher than that. And so like somebody's rolling the dice, and for Monty, I think he's rolling the dice on himself, and he's very comfortable doing that. For the Kings, they're rolling the dice on more instability and chaos.
And sorry, Casey. Another like I applaud Deuce and you guys because it's got to be really difficult to ask a question you're pretty confident it's not going to get answered, but you also know, hey, how come no one asked Monty about his contract extension? You've got to ask the question. You know it's probably not going to get answered, but you still have to ask it. And I got to imagine that's pretty tough.
Yeah, it's never fun to ask. Like there are difficult questions, and they're like I personally like for myself. I think like I can ask a pretty difficult question in a pretty like easy way. Like I don't just like hit you with it. It's not like you feel like you've just been run over by a truck and that you didn't see it coming. And if there's something that has to be answered by a player, like they know it's coming. At least they should. And a lot of times they will know it's coming. Like because, like the Terrence Davis situation, like that was a situation where like, look, you're going to get asked questions because you haven't spoken to the media in Toronto and you haven't spoken to the media since you got traded to Sacramento. And then eventually I had to ask him the questions about his off the court stuff. And it was a very difficult answer, for him. But as a reporter, that's our job. And I know I'll give a shout out to Sean Cunningham too. While we were on air on Monday, Rashawn Holmes came over and spoke to the media, and Sean had to ask him about some of the off the court stuff, and how is it going, and is it good to have it out of the way, and all that stuff. And those things aren't easy, but again, it's like it's not part of the basketball world, but it is. Because they represent so much more than just the play on the court. They represent cities and communities and all that stuff. And yeah, it's never easy to ask the hard ones. So shout out to both those guys who hit him with hard questions.
Yeah. Big ups to my guy Deuce. Big ups to my guy Sean Cunningham for sure. We talked earlier.
Yes, for apparently pissing off Kevin Herter.
Yeah.
Oh, Brandon. The ox question. I would have been like, I have no idea what you're asking.
We're not going to spoil that one. You got to listen to the latest edition of the King's Beat for that.
That was pretty funny. Yeah. And
yeah,
Britain,
that was funny. Yeah, I felt for him. And Herder is a deadpan guy, so that would have been really difficult because he's very funny, but it's very subtle. You can tell right away that, even him talking about Keegan Murray, like, yeah, Keegan Murray only eats like 5 foods. He's very boring, and he sits in his house and watches his shows, and he doesn't do anything else. He only has like 2 hobbies. Like, all of it was very deadpan and very like matter of fact, but Herder, I think Herder is going to be a favorite amongst these guys. And for those asking out there, I did actually tell Kevin Herder, like, I introduced myself and told him that everyone thought that he's my son, and we had a good laugh about it.
I was about to say, what do you think about that?
Well, I told him there's a bunch of racist people out there that think that all redheads come from the same spot, and it's just not okay. Like we had a good laugh about it. Yeah, we're like, I'm like, hey man, like, why does it, like, everyone throwing it out there that he's my son? Like, just because we have red hair doesn't mean anything. Like, yeah. Sorry guys.
The funny thing about, I think we've talked about this before. Ham, your sons don't even have red hair, do they?
My little guy has okay, so I'm what they call a strawberry blonde. So my hair isn't like red. And when I have gel in it, it gets darker. My little dude has the same hair. He has a light. So like we don't have like bright red hair. So Herder has like bright red hair. Like he's a like it's a full-fledged redhead. But there is a difference. Like my brother is a redhead, and he has a daughter that's a redhead, like super red. Yeah.
Wow.
ESPN 1320, sports leader. That's where you find us. Hey, you mentioned Rashawn. What did you think about some of Rashawn's remarks? Rashawn, Sean asking him the tough questions, but Rashawn really kind of pushed everything back towards basketball. He acknowledged it was the season from hell, the year from hell for him. But he also, I think at the end of a clip that Sean, I believe it was Sean that Sean posted it. It was like, but that's no excuse. Like, I didn't play well. I didn't play well, and that's what it boils down to.
Come on, man. Get Deuce out of here, man.
Yeah. You guys are killing us. You're killing us in the chatty house. Yeah, like, look, like, this is about basketball, and it's about the opening of a season. And for Rashawn Holmes, this is like a renewal of sorts. This is like a rebirth for him. He had a horrific season. One thing after another, we've talked about it. The 2 lacerated eyeball issues. He got COVID. He had a family member pass away, and all the while he had a really bad custody battle going on behind the scenes. Like, real life hit Rashawn Holmes, and it impacted him greatly on the court. He's still here, and he wanted to be in Sacramento, and he looks like he's in great shape. He's worked really hard to, like, he's shooting 3-pointers, but also, like, he's worked really hard to make sure that he's ready to kind of get back to who he was. And he's a heart and soul player, and the Kings missed him greatly last year. I'd say that was one of the bigger issues that wasn't really talked about how bad that season went, was just that Holmes, like, never looked like Holmes from the opening tip. And so, like, I think it's good. It is good to, like, address some of these situations and move forward. I had a conversation with him off the record, and, like, it's not easy. Like, none of this stuff is easy. This is real life. And, I think people forget that these guys, they make lots of money and all that stuff, but that doesn't really matter at the end of the day. You're still a human being. You're still a person who has to deal with all of the things that everyone else does. And, we see it with Tom Brady, where he's just like, look, man, I'm 45 years old. Like, life is hard. Life is difficult. There's so many things going on. Whether, that's that age where your kids are hitting a certain age, and, your marriage is hitting a certain age, and your parents are hitting a certain age, and you're trying to balance everything. And I think for NBA players that gets glossed over a lot. I'm glad it's worked out for him. I think it's a situation that will always be there, and that's because I think his son is only 5 or 6 years old, and these situations don't just magically vanish and go away. Just because you got a ruling from a judge, it doesn't mean these situations go away. So it'll be a constant thing that he's dealing with, and that's just part of who he is as a player now.
Yeah, that went on for him last year, man. I want to see him, have a better year just in life. I'm not even talking basketball wise, just a better year this upcoming year, man. So that's for sure. Jane, well, two things went on. First of all, yes, everybody, it's 3:44. I'm out. You can take me off the list.
They're dropping like flies. Alfonso's out. He had 344. Soren is out.
The
He had
witching hour.
The witching hour indeed.
Oh,
where
man,
winners become losers and losers become winners. We've reached the witching hour. That's right.
Man,
Andrew Siciliano.
Thought I was there. James, we talked a little bit earlier about Davion Mitchell. And I want to know, because you see Davion almost on a daily basis, his whole rookie year and now going into this year. And I kind of look at him and I look at the way he goes about things and the way he does things. And I mentioned it earlier. People always give you a lot of flack for saying he's comparing him to Patrick Beverly. And I think he's a better player than Patrick Beverly. I think he's a better defender than Patrick Beverly. But the one thing that I feel Davion may have is just that extra, that bounce to his step, that no nonsense-ness to his game and to the way he approaches basketball that I love, quite frankly. And I feel like I'm starting to see that more and more from him the more we see him, since his rookie year, whether it's summer league or just looking at him on media day. It looked like he's like, oh, I'm tired of this. I could be playing basketball right now. Like, let's get over with this. Do you get the same vibes from Davion that he's just kind of no nonsense?
Yeah, he's no nonsense. He's also funny. He's also like a jokester behind the scenes. I think, look, when you have a guy like that who just refuses to stop, like he just has to be in motion at all times. I think if you look at him, he out of everyone, like there are players that lost a bunch of weight, and there's some players that I'm sure have gained a little bit of weight. He's just like built like an NFL linebacker. I mean, he's so stout and yoked, and you can tell that he's clearly been in the gym all summer long. But you also expect it. Like you expect him to be that guy. And like we could sit here and debate whether he's going to be a better defender than Beverly or not. But I'll tell you, like year two of Beverly's career is when he really took off as a defender. That's when he went from being like a really, really good defender to an elite defender. It was his second full season in the NBA. And I think that Davion is going to have that opportunity. I asked him today, about a guy, who is a defensive player, like how much when you're when that's what you're known for, like how much are you looking around like, hey, can we talk about defense? Can we coach defense? And how much is that part of what's happening in practice? And he's just so focused, and he wants to be really, really good. And not only that, but he's doing the little things that he didn't do so well last year. So he spent the summer working on catch and shoot threes. He didn't shoot the ball that well from 3-point range. He needs to be a 36 to 38% 3-point shooter. And I think he's going to get a lot of burn with Malik Monk this year. I asked both of them about that question today, just like how are they building chemistry together. And I don't think they've got to a point in practice where they've started to pair off and really like focus on what are some of the small groups going to be, who's going to be the starting five, who's going to be the second group. But I think those guys are going to play a ton of time together, and that's something that I think that they're a pretty good fit. They're undersized, but I think they're a pretty good fit.
Even though he's coming off the bench, is Davion a guy who can be a leader for this team?
Yeah, I think everyone can be a leader for this team. Like, I think that they're going to rely on like leadership by committee, and as long as your heart's in the right place, then I think that everyone should be willing to listen and have those conversations. and to step up when someone needs to step up. But having guys on the bench like Kent Bazemore or Matthew Dellavedova, even when Harrison Barnes is out there, like all of these guys can be veteran leaders and like can help do certain aspects. But I think when you look at the game of basketball, there's so many different ways to be a leader. There's being a leader by showing everybody how to take care of your body and how to be a good community person. And, you're getting some of that from guys like Garrett Temple in the past, but also Harrison Barnes. If you want the rah-rah guy, the Kings have had the rah-rah guy. If you want the guy who can go out in front of the media and answer every question, they've had that guy in the past. I think, Tristan Thompson took that reign a little bit last year, but Karan Butler's been that guy. There's been so many different guys that have had different roles with this team. And so I think when we look at leadership, like everyone wants it to be like this Michael Jordan type leadership or, everything is centered around one guy. But, the biggest voice in the room in the Golden State Warriors is Draymond Green. The leader of the Golden State Warriors is Steph Curry. And it is what it is. Like wherever Steph goes, they're going. It's his team. And everyone knows that. And so, I think that this team is going to have plenty of leaders. And I think Davion can be one of those guys just because he's going to be a guy who outworks everybody else. And they all know that. Like it's hard to compete with him on the work ethic side. And so there comes some cachet with that he's working harder than everybody else. So his voice will have some meaning because he's doing what it takes to get better.
Yeah. Before we get out of here, Ham, Barry Bonds was in the house today, the greatest baseball player to ever play. Yes, he is. Greatest baseball player to ever play was in the building today. But it reminded me, I joked around. I said, Vivek making moves. Barry Bonds is sacked. Vivek is doing it. And I said, I wonder if he's going to ever be able to get Drake to come back here. And I told the people I would ask you about the night Drake came to Arco Arena.
Yeah, that was the most awkward night in the history of Sacramento Kings basketball. I think Drake's been there a couple of times, but the night that they let Drake in the locker room was a night where DeMarcus had like gone off on George Karl in after the game, and so we finally got let into the locker room, and it was like we could hear like ruckus going on behind the door, but Jerry, who was the security guard that watched the door, bless his heart, rest in peace, Jerry. He was like standing there, like making sure everyone wasn't too close to the door because he could hear what was going on. So we all file in, we walk into the locker room, and something clearly had happened. Like the locker room is somewhere that once you've been in there once you've been in there a few times, you start to get kind of a flow for what's happening. It's usually pretty quiet, but there's some jokesters going on. There's, it has like a feel to it. We walked in and instantly something had happened, and we're like, oh, this is awkward. I'm not sure what's going on, but something loud and crazy happened. Players were all in like these little groups of three whispering to each other. So we came in, the media's just kind of standing there. They weren't ready to talk yet, clearly. So we were all kind of standing in a corner, all grouped up, waiting for the players to be ready for us to go in and like get into a scrum and have a conversation. And before that could happen, the side door opens and Vivek walks in, and then Vlade walks in, and then Drake walks in, and it's like, hey, what's up, guys? And Drake comes around, he's dabbing everybody, but like the players, he could feel it right when he walked in. And then he like tried to like say hey to the players, and that wasn't really going over that well. And you could tell the players were like, why is Drake in the locker room? Why is Drake here? And so he came over to the media, like, what up, guys? And we're like,
That's what gets me.
Hi, Drake. Like, I don't know what to say. Like it's yeah, Jerry Reynolds was not guarding the door of Soren Smith. No.
That's what gets me. Drake wasn't getting a response from the players, so he goes over to James Ham, and it's like, hey, what's up, man? How are you doing?
Well, I'm about the culture, so I was like, hey, that's right. Let's. We were in our corner of the culture over there, and waiting for the players to yeah. So anyway, it was one of the more remarkable nights because not only did it speak to like the disconnect between management, ownership, and the coaching staff and the players. It spoke to all of that, but also just, really not reading the room. And it was a very, very awkward evening in Sacramento. And at some point, like Drake, just left. Like, it was like a very odd moment, like, overall. Like, I've seen a couple of awkward moments in the locker room, and that's one that, like, stands out. Yeah. Yeah. It stands
That
out
was
as one that
funny.
just, like, yeah.
That's the
I mean,
way I
I've been in
always
there with
think.
fights. I've been in there with, like, people saying things they shouldn't be saying, all kinds of crazy stuff. But that one there was pretty crazy.
I know Brickhouse Industries is listening. Hi Drake is absolutely the next shirt for thekingsbeat.com. If there is not a Hi Drake shirt on thekingsbeat.com, we're all failed.
I mean, that's been so long. It's been I don't even remember that. I mean, it's a George Carl
Hi
year.
Drake.
Yeah.
Well, what a day. It's a historic day. As Michael Cole said, that fateful night in New Orleans, the streak is over.
Oh,
And I'm going to give credit.
oh wait a minute.
I'm going to give credit. James has been teasing it. I'm going to give credit to Jonathan because he was the very first one at 148 to say, I'm going to bet he will not freeze at all today. Bold, but I'm going with it.
Congratulations, Jonathan.
You are the winner.
Bold move, Cotton.
Bold strategy, but it paid off. Not freeze today, and the most coveted streak in sports media is over.
The streak.
We will
over.
pick up the pieces from the loss of this